who needs a book? Which one of my we got 6. Everybody got one?
There's some.
Okay. All right. I can figure out what chapter I'm on right now. That would help. Okay. It is 10 o'clock. Time to start. Music playing. Good morning, ladies. How was y'all's week? No? I only got some weird looking faces going on here. What happened? Anybody want to tell? No?
Well, I had a family issue. My grandmama, she had a stroke.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Prayers for your grandmama. I know that's stressful, honey. Dealing with something like that. Oh, that's a change. That's a change. You're lucky that she's still here for sure, and things definitely gonna change. But our prayers to her, and hopefully she gets well soon. On a lighter note, though, I went to Atlanta to get my lashes done. My little lash bestie, and then she was like, "Let's go do Pilates." I was like, what the hell is that? Like, I've heard of it, but I've never been, right? And just happens that they just opened up a club Pilates in Augusta. I don't know if y'all noticed that. It's brand new. It just opened up. You know where Chick-fil-A is over there by the Hobby Lobby and Target and all that? It's right there across from Chick-fil-A in that little tiny shopping center. So I went, and I was looking crazy, y'all. You know, they put the little things on your legs, and I'm like doing the circles. I'm sitting there, I don't know what I'm doing. I was just doing, the lady told me, she said, just do what everybody else is doing. I was like, okay. But, yeah, I was like, this is going to be easy. Because, you know, you put the little things on your legs and your arms, and you're doing, and it's just pulling your own body weight, kind of. With a little resistance, you can add little weights and springs on it. Mm-hmm. Y'all, I woke up last night with chest pain. I was like, because, you know, we were doing this thing with our arms, and I was like, wait a minute. I feel pain in my chest. I started to call 911, and I remembered that I was an EMT and that it wasn't the same thing I used to tell patients. I'd be like, well, does it hurt when you move? And they'd be like, yeah, it really hurts when I move. I'm like, it's not a heart attack. It's probably a muscle strain or something like that. You know, if you're having a heart attack, it's going to hurt no matter what you do. Yeah. You can't stop it. Like, you can't, like, move a certain way and it, like, stops. It's just pain. So I was like, girl, you ain't having no heart attack. Go lay down somewhere. But anyway, on that note, I think I'm going to do Pilates because I obviously felt something afterwards. So I think it'd probably be a good idea to do it. Yeah, I think it's good if you have a Pilates pal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's only like $30 per session, it's 50 minutes. You can get a membership. Anyway, I think I'm going to do it. Be another thing I'm just paying for and not actually doing. But anywho, let's get to our lesson for the day. Okay? If you are on the live or if you are on YouTube, we are on chapter 9 in the Nails, Milady Nails book, okay? Of course, you know, I just kind of use this as a reference, and I have my own stuff that I do, but we're going to follow along if you guys have a book. That would be page 252. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, TikTok. Good morning, YouTube. Join us on YouTube. You can talk to us. You can see the slides much better, see exactly what my students see. You won't be able to see the demonstration unless you are on YouTube, okay? That's where we are. We're trying to get that YouTube bag, okay? Like the rest of these folks. I don't know if y'all know about it, but YouTube is where it's at, okay? All right, so nail tips. Last week, we went over ratio, right? Everybody remember that? Ratio, dropping the beads, the balls, whatever you want to call them. How did that go? Did anybody go home and practice any of that? Yeah? Yeah? How did it go at home versus at school?
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. All right. Takes a lot of practice. You know, practice makes perfect. You know, I always say, well, I don't always say, I stole this from someone else, but then I said it too. You know, it takes 10,000 hours to master any skill. And I mean, you can't just say, I'm a master at nails. Like, no. What are you a master at nail when it comes to nails? Because I personally consider myself a master sculptor. Okay? That's me considering myself because, you know, I have high, you know, big old head of mine. Think I'm a master of that. So with that being said, what do you think I practiced a lot? 10,000 hours. I sculpted straight through 10,000 hours, okay? So, you know, whatever you guys decide to do and you want to be a master of, you got to practice it. So that y'all just tapped into maybe 10, 20 hours of that. So keep practicing, okay? And today we're going to incorporate those beads into, and make them into nails, okay? So with that being said, let's move right along. Nail tips. Why do you think you need to learn this skill? I mean,
It's about the most important thing you'll be doing.
it's probably, I wouldn't say the most important. I would say it's the most requested thing that you guys are going to be doing in the nail industry, okay? Well, most people are going to ask for nail tips, okay? So what you're going to learn today, we're going to talk about some reasons why you need to learn it, as well as identify the differences between a nail extension and a nail enhancement. Okay, we've kind of talked about this a little bit. And then we're going to talk about preparation for nail tips and extensions. Okay, we talked about chemistry last week as well. So y'all remember what dehydrator and primer is and the difference between the two. If you missed it, it was a lot of information, wasn't it? Might want to grab some notes. All right. We're going to also describe the different types of nail tips that are out there. I brought quite a few of them. Some of them you've probably never seen before. You didn't know the difference. You're going to learn that today. Okay, so number one, why you need to learn this stuff. As a nail technician, you need to have a thorough understanding of all things nails, right? I know some of us just want to do nail art, and some of us just want to do it, you know, extendos, and maybe you just want to do press-ons and blah, blah, blah. But you can't really call yourself a nail technician if you don't at least know how to glue a tip on. And with that being said, you're going to have to do that at, guess where? State board. Okay, so state board is going to require you to do a few things. Well, I'll run through them real quick. You got to do a manicure, a table setup before you do the manicure, excuse me. So you do the table setup, got to get a grade on that. Then you do the manicure, got a grade on that. Then you got to do another table setup and get another grade on that. And then after you do that table setup, you're going to do three things. Well, actually four. You're going to prep a nail with, do a nail tip with blending. That's what we're going to talk about today and demonstrate today. All right. Then you're going to also have to do a sculpted nail. And then you're going to have to soak that sculpted nail off. Okay. And then the final thing is a blood exposure procedure. Simple, right? Yeah, it is. It's very simple because we're going to learn how to do it when we get done with all this stuff. All right. So when you are doing nail tips, you really need to be very good at preparing the nails. And how do we prep nails, ladies? What's the process? Anybody know or want to share what they think it is?
When you remove the cuticles and you do clean the nail bed, dehydrate, prime, all of that.
How about
Simple
first?
manicure.
Right, wash their hands, because that's number one, because that's going to remove what? The oils, just to recap on last week. Okay, so also, after you prep and you do, and there's certain steps, like we're not going to do dehydrator and prime before we glue a tip on. All that comes after, right? Did anybody know the reason why? I mean, you could dehydrate the nail and glue the tip on. That wouldn't be a big deal. But if you try to prime the nail before you glue the tip on, the glue's probably not going to adhere very well. Remember we talked about adhesives and the reasons why adhesives don't work. usually there's a barrier in between, and that primer is not really going to work too well in between glue and a tip and a nail plate. All right, so we're always going to prime after we glue the tip and blend it. But before we can even do all that, we have to apply the tips. And one of the reasons why you guys have problems with your retention when it comes to nail tips, it's usually going to be something relating to the size of your tip being incorrect, okay? And you can cause problems with your client by putting improper size nail tips on. Anybody know how that can? What if you put a tip on that's too small? It's going to squeeze that nail on the sides because that glue is adhered to the tip. It squeezes it and then it pops up, and then what do you have? Yeah, your nail plate ends up separating from the nail bed, and you get onycholiasis, right? So you want to make sure that you're properly sizing nail tips, okay? And next week when we incorporate forms into this equation, I know we're just learning a whole lot. That's a lot of information, right? But hey, it's what we do here, all right? But we'll get to that next week. Now, what's the difference between a nail enhancement and a nail extension? Anybody know? We talked about this a little bit. When you enhance something, we'll say, this is my natural hair. To enhance it or do something to make it look better, I'm using what I actually have, okay? Now, if I'm going to do an extension, what do I add? What am I throwing in the mix? I'm making it longer. I'm adding something to it to make it longer. So you can enhance anybody's natural nail. Trust me. That's easy to do. But when we get into extensions, that's when you're adding length, okay? Now, one of the most popular services that are requested in this industry is nail enhancements, okay? Nail enhancements meaning gel polish, just a regular manicure, regular polish or nail art on top of your natural nails. But nail extensions are used when those clients want to extend their natural nails, and there's two ways to do that. Well, so saith my lady, but this is 2024, so let's think about this a little bit, okay? There's two ways. We've got tips, regular tips that you glue onto the nail. Then we have what else to extend? The forms, the little papers, right? Y'all see the forms that I know they're just paper right now, but those are called forms that we put underneath the free edge to stickers to extend the nail. What's another way? Because I'm on the YouTube and on the TikTok and watching these new trends. What's another way to extend? I can think of two right now.
There's a builder in the bottle that you can actually build out for the nail. You just have to do it a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Gel, though.
Okay. How about we talked about these in our nail wrapping course, because these are coming back around.
Wraps.
Those nail wraps, fiberglass wraps. You can lay those little strings. So y'all seen those strands, right? That's fiberglass. That's loose fiberglass, and that can be extended. You can use that to extend. Okay. How about dual forms? What are those? Y'all seen those before? Folks just patting the gel in there, the Acrygel or the polygel or whatever brand you're using. They patting it in there and then they press it down and put it on, and then they pop it off. Everybody has some of those nowadays. Some brands got pop-its, and you got dual forms. You got all kinds of different brands out there. Okay, but at the end of the day, there are several ways to extend, but the two types of ways that you need to learn while you're in school is tips and forms, okay? Now, how do we prepare the nail tip for nail extensions? How do we do that? Well, first and foremost, we're going to perform a dry manicure, okay? Now, this is if you can do that. Some clients need a full-on wet manicure because the cuticles are just awful and they need to be soaked in order for you to push them back, because I have seen some real shady stuff going on with these e-files on people's natural nails. It just file their cuticle off. I don't know about that. Okay, that's probably going to be a little painful. All right, but preparing the natural nail is very important. It ensures that the enhancements are going to last, or your product is going to last. So it's important that that nail is clean, free of moisture and oil. And this is why I say if you can do a dry manicure, absolutely do that, because we don't want to, if we soak the client's nails for 10-15 minutes and then we take them out and then we immediately do a service that requires you to put acrylic or gel on top of it, there is a chance that you could get a greenie or some type of, you know, mold under there, which is not cute. Okay, so remember that these keratin layers that our nails are made up are made, you know, they're like a sponge and they soak up water. So we want to try to avoid it if possible. So the dry manicure, doing that prior to a service without soaking them in water is recommended. But if that client needs it, go ahead and do it. Now, this manicure is also going to include shaping the nail, okay? Going ahead and the natural nail, right? Because here's something I see a lot that probably shouldn't be done. You know, I'm of the school where if you want your nails done like extensions, who cares about that little flimsy natural nail under there? If you cared about it, you'd be getting a manicure, right? We're doing extensions here. So in my opinion, okay, and we can argue in the comments or we'll argue with your mama. My opinion is that the natural nail should be trimmed down short. Okay, if you want to grow your natural nails and that's, you know, that's what you're trying to do, then there's ways to do that, and it's definitely not going to be applying acrylic to it or any other type of extension, because that you've got to file that nail down and get fill-ins, and you're going to be filing that nail over and over and over again. Okay, so again, shaping the nail, trimming that nail down. Why should we trim? What if the client has a very long free edge? Thank you. What if they have a very long free edge and you want to put tips on it? Why would that be a problem to do that? To just glue a tip on top of a very long free edge.
It like fall off.
And don't always go with the shape of the nail.
Your nail shape, if you had perfectly shaped nails that fit a tip every single time with no issues, you probably wouldn't be even getting your nails done. You got perfect nails. You don't even need, nails at all. But most of the time, I know I have my nails tend to curve down a little bit, right? Or maybe you have a client who has nails that curve up a little bit, right? So how do you glue a tip to that? Anybody, y'all all have seen people whose nails are doing like this. They got extensions on their nails, scooping up like this, because they probably have nails that naturally do that, and then the nail tech, an unskilled nail tech, probably just glued the nail directly to instead of trying to, tip it down a little bit. So, there's ways to do it, but you want to go ahead and trim that nail down. Also, the nail tip, remember that the nail is like a sponge, right? So what does that mean? That means that water will absorb into that free edge, right? So you got this free edge sticking out from, because the clients love to see it. They're like, oh, look at my nails growing under there. They hate me because I take that E-file when they ain't looking and go, right, and take it right on out. We don't need that little nasty thing under there, because what is happening every time you take a shower, every time you wash your hands, it's absorbing moisture, and then your hands dry out, right? And what happens? It expands with the water, and then it shrinks. And then you do that twice a day. Some of y'all twice a week. I don't know. No, we ain't got none of those in here. Maybe on the environment. But you're washing your hands, and then it contracts, and then it contracts, and it expands. It contracts and expands. So what ends up happening to that little free edge under there 9 times out of 10? It's popping up, and you're getting stuff under there, and it's disgusting, right? So eventually that nail glue that the tip is attached to is going to detach. And then you've got this free edge just kind of floating under there, and then it's just kind of nasty. But, do what I've seen nail techs take glue and put more glue to stick it back down. How do you know there ain't no boo-boo underneath there? Did you scrub all that out from under? Did you clean? Nobody's doing that, okay? So, I say drill it out, but that's up to you. Do what you want. Now, once you have, shaped that nail, trim that nail tip down, the next thing you want to do is go ahead and push those cuticles back, right? Remove that cuticle off of the nail plate. Very, very important, because remember, cuticle A product is not going to stick to skin, and cuticle is just dead tissue, right? All right. So once we remove that cuticle from the nail plate by gently pushing the cuticle back, removing those the shine from the nail with what? A buffer, y'all. Please don't be destroying these nail plates. We need our clients to be able to come back. So also make sure you're taking care around the lateral nail folds with your buffer, and don't forget those areas because that's where the lifting is going to happen. Okay. So once you have buffed that nail, what's the nail going to look like after you've buffed it? It's going to be matte. And what else are you going to see there? If I just take a buffer and I just leave my hands after I buffed them, look at them, what are they going to look like? They're going to be dusty. And what do you think that dust is? Dead skin, nail plate, pieces of fiber off of the buffer, blah, 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 blah. Stuff that acrylic won't stick to. So this is one of the things that you guys don't do, and you wonder why your nails are lifting. You just buff or you e-file or whatever you're doing wrong, right? And then you just dust off the nail with one of them big duster things that we should not be using. The fluffy dusters, what are they for?
Cleaning your desk.
The table. They are not for the client's hands. I know it's cute. They got the little unicorn ones. They got the little pink ones with the look like a rose and all that stuff. That is for the table, y'all. That is not for your client's hand. Can you disinfect that? No. You cannot disinfect, unless it's a canacolon fiber or something like that. Maybe you can throw it in the disinfectant, but I can guarantee you, if you are disinfecting those brushes, those big fluffy brushes, it ain't gonna last you 2 or 3 weeks if you're doing it right, because you put in disinfectant. That disinfectant is gonna destroy it. Okay, so get you a nylon brush. You know what the nylon brushes look like. Okay, plus that's going to get all that dust out of the creases and the cracks and everything that's on the nail. Okay, then after you do that, what should you do? After you remove the dust that you can see, because there's only the dust you can see, there's still minor dust in there. What should you do next? Before you even glue the tips on, do anything. You need to clean it with cleanser, and a cleanser could be an alcohol, like Young Nail Swipe, something like that. And it just so you guys know, write this down. I make my own cleanser. I'm not paying $20 for some blue alcohol, okay? Because that's about how much it costs for a big bottle of Young Nail Swipe. I'm never going to get any brand deals ever. Anyway, so my recipe is 2 parts alcohol, 1 part acetone, okay? And if you want it to be blue or if you want it to be pink, squirt a little food color, I don't know, in there. Don't do that. It's going to stain stuff. But just saying, you can make your own. 2 parts alcohol, 1 part acetone. So what does that mean? That means however big your bottle is, okay? If it's a cup, that means 2 cups of alcohol, 1 cup of acetone. If it's a half a cup that you're using, 2 halves a cups of alcohol, 1 half a cup of acetone. Okay, it's simple fractions, right? Okay, but just whatever you're using, just do 2 of alcohol, 1 of acetone. Got it? Very easy. And you can make your own and put it in a spray bottle or put it in a squirt bottle, whatever. Put it on a lint-free wipe. Wipe that client's nails down. Don't send them to wash their hands because these folks can't wash their hands properly. They're going to come back with bubbles and stuff all over their hands, or they still got boo-boo under there. Ain't no telling. Okay, plus they should have washed their hands before they sat at your table. So it's just best practice to just use some alcohol or some cleanser and go ahead and remove that residual nail dust that you can't see, because that's basically cuticle and stuff that's on the nail plate that's not going to stick to your product. All right, so that may troubleshoot some of the issues that you guys are having with retention. Anybody doing acrylic right now and having any issues with nail lifting? Like my nails are just popping off all in one piece, or my client comes back and there's, a whole half an inch of lifting in the back. Okay, these things are things that remember we talked about troubleshooting last week. Okay, troubleshooting is very important. All right. Now, once you have done that dry manicure and did everything that I just said, you're going to, if we're using tips, okay, we're using tips. You're gonna size your tip and go ahead and glue that tip down, blend it, and then apply your dehydrator and your primer. Now, if you're using forms, there's no tip involved, right? But I always recommend put your forms on first and then put your dehydrator and primer on, just because you don't want to, you're putting the forms on, you might touch the nail plate and have to do it all over again, okay? So, nail dehydrator. What did we say about nail dehydrator last week? What are some of the things that you guys didn't know about it that you learned last week? How long does it last on the natural nail? 10 to 30 minutes, just depends on, what brand you're using, all right? And you're going to apply that liberally to the nail plate. So those are one of the products that, you can go crazy with it. In other words, one application might not be enough if you got a client who has lifting issues, right? So you might try next time you sit down with them if they have a little bit of lifting and your prep is on point, because it's probably your prep. But if your prep is on point and she's having lifting issues, you may want to do 2 applications of dehydrator, right? Instead of just 1. It's not going to hurt you, okay? Now, let's talk about the different types of nail tips that are out there. And I'm going to put some on this table so y'all can see, because there's more than just this what's in this book, okay? Now, nail tips. First of all, what are they? What are they made of? Plastic. And the particular name of that plastic, okay, this is a harder plastic, not just like a plastic bag, but it's a harder plastic that's made for nail tips are made of. It's called acrylonitrile butadiene styrene. The hell? But what do you notice in the front of that? What did we talk about last week? Acrylic. That acrylic is basically what? All forms of acrylic are basically plastic, okay? Now, these adhere to the natural nail to give you that extra length that you need, okay? And that support that you need for your nail enhancement product, your acrylic or gel or whatever it is you're using, okay? Now, when you're doing an overlay, you may not need a tip at all, but if the client has really, really short natural nails, like their natural nails are like bitten or something like that, I would, you may want to put a little bit of extension on there if you're just trying to keep them from biting their nails, okay? Now, there's what's called if you look at this picture, you'll see on the tip, there's this depression at the U part, this U-shaped end of the nail, where we attach the nail tip. Anybody know what that's called? It's called a well, okay? And because that well is there, it's like a little depression that's a little bit thinner in that area. That well is there as a position stop. It kind of helps you, assist you in knowing where to stop when you glue that tip down, okay? Now, not all tips have this. Not all tips have this, and some nail techs prefer that they don't, because not everybody's nails, I know this for myself, not everybody's nails are shaped perfect like that, right? So, you pick your tips the way like I said, like you pick your man, pick your poison, okay? Now, but usually that position stop is where you're going to apply your adhesive, your nail glue, okay? And then position that onto the natural nail. Now, these wells will vary with different tips, okay? And we're going to talk about these different shaped tips that are out here, okay? Now, tips are available in many shapes, sizes, lengths. See, you guys are lucky. We didn't have extendo tips back in the day. Do y'all remember when people were gluing tips to tips? I'm like, oh, these are definitely DIY crafters over here. They make tips that long. Why are you doing that? you know, but I guess they wanted the curve or whatever they were doing. But now, you know, you can buy the tips that are XXXXXXL long. All right. Also, the color variations that you guys have. You've got tips that are pink, already pink, or red, or whatever color. You can buy tips in all kinds of colors. I'm not too much of a fan of those colored tips, but they have their uses, okay? It makes your life a little easier if you're trying to do like a Louboutin nail or the red bottom. You know, you just put a red tip on there instead of having to polish and do all that stuff. But again, that's the only use that I ever found for them, if you wanted color underneath. I digress, but someone please tell me. And they usually come in a pack of 100, 500, just depends on, you know, the brand. Now, let's talk about these different types of tips. So, you've got, oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pink. He's always love when he shows up. He always dropping gifts. Thank you so much. Tickle Pink. Shout out to Tickle Pink products. All right. So, the different types of nail tips. Number one, you got your full well tip. You got a partial well tip. You got the well-less tip. Then you got full coverage tips and French tips. All different types of tips, all right? Now, the full well tip should not be confused with a full coverage tip, okay? Two very different things, okay? So let me pull out some of these while y'all are taking notes. So the first one that we listed here is a full well tip, okay? And this is what it looks like. You put it on the screen. Ooh, that's dusty. Just take a look. It don't look that dusty in front of me. Sorry, y'all. That was real dusty. So that's a full well tip. And anybody ever seen these or worked with these before? All right. When you put this on the nail, it literally covers almost half of the nail plate. And why would you want that? Well, let me just say, just for y'all's information, these are my favorite type of tips to use. Because a lot of your clients are coming to you with nail damage. Their nails are not necessarily shaped perfectly. They scoop up or they scoop down or they lean to the, all kinds of stuff, right? So the reason why I like these is because no matter what damage is going on with your client's nails that you're trying to fix, this nail is going to cover that, okay? Now, when I apply this, I'm going to, you got your position stop here. So you put your glue, always put your glue, ladies, on the tip. Because if you put it on the nail, I mean, there's lots of nail techs out here. They got their speed down. They're professionals. They do it how they do it. But when you're new and you lay that tip on the actual nail plate, that glue on the nail plate first. Oh, thank you. If you do that, it may slide off. It might go everywhere. And then you're like trying to chase it. Now you don't have no glue on this side of the nail because it went that way or it's flooded your cuticle area or your sidewalls, okay? It's best to take your glue and apply it very, very, sparingly. You don't need a whole lot, okay? Because remember, it's going to be flat and you're going to press it down and it's going to, it's going to squirt out the sides, right? So how do I apply this once I put my glue in there? You're going to take it like this, find your position stop, and then rock it back. And you don't want any air bubbles under there. The reason I'm showing you this one first is because this is the type of tip you have to use at State Board. You cannot use a half well, a full well, or any other kind of well tip, but a full well tip, okay? Must be these. Now, why are these my favorite again? So number one, you can cover up a client. If you got a client who's got damage to their nail, it's a whole lot easier. There's a lot more space for you to get that nail on there and get it on straight without any issues. It's very good for beginners. But not only that, when you apply this, you're going to blend this nail tip down. And you've got all this right here to work with as far as blending is concerned. when you try to blend a nail tip that has a well that's this big, your chances of damaging the client's nail while you're blending are much higher. Okay? You're going to be blending this down. You've got half of the nail covered. Okay? So it's just easier, in my opinion, for beginners, especially, and that's why they make you use it at nail, when you go to take your stay board, using these full well tips. So that's a full well tip. And they come in all different shapes, sizes, lengths, I've seen stiletto ones. I was trying to order different full well tips on Amazon this weekend get them here so y'all could see them. They've got stiletto, they've got coffin, they've got all types of shapes. But these are just your generic full well tips, all right? Now, I said don't confuse these with a full coverage tip. So full coverage tips are going to be, an example of that is going to be your typical Gel X, as you guys, love to call these Gel X. This ain't Gel X, this is Novo Ovo. But guess what? They're the same thing, okay? So y'all, don't be brand horse, okay? Right here, full coverage, meaning it covers the entire nail, aka a press-on, okay? So full coverage and full well, hello, two different things, okay? Full coverage, full well, all right? Now, when we talk about nail tips that do have a well, I brought these because I know y'all love this shape, honey. I don't know why, but here it goes. Oh. But y'all see that well in there? You see the well? You see it? That's where you're going to apply your glue. It's helpful for you to have that little well. And also, when you apply it, you do the same thing. Get your position stop, press it down, okay? Now, you need to blend tips. Tips need to be blended, and I'll explain why in a minute. But having that well there on that small well makes it a little difficult to blend the tip area, again, without damaging the client's nail, in my opinion, okay? So, everybody still with me? Now, the only one I don't have an example of is the French tip, because them white French tips, they look just like this, but French, white or colored, or whatever color you're using, okay? Now, a well-less tip, this is an example of a well-less tip. No well at all. What, does it matter? Really? Not really, all right? So this one, you have a little bit more playroom to move it up and down if you need to, okay? And there's not necessarily any place that you need to put the glue, okay? So those are the different types of tips. We said 5, but I only have 4 to show you, okay? So those are the different types of tips that you might run into outside of those dual forms. And again, dual forms aren't tips. They're a different way to apply like a sculpted nail, if you ask me. Okay? Everybody still with me? Yes, they are. They're just still asleep. I know y'all think I'm teaching a bunch of empty room because they still asleep. Okay? So, when we're applying that nail tip, it's very important that you choose the right size. Now, I've run into this issue where I didn't have the right size. Maybe you get down to a lot of your tips boxes, there's going to be sizes that you don't use a lot, okay? And you may get down to where you need a size 5, but all you got is a size 4. What am I going to do? Well, if it's a size 4, it's going to be really, really big, right? I would much rather or a little too big. I would much rather you use a bigger tip than a smaller tip, okay? Now, if you need a size 3 and you go up to a size 2, that's probably not going to work because your C curve is going to be a little too wide. So you got 2 choices here. If you can either cry about it or sculpt the nail, okay? If you have, because you're going to run into clients that have extra large fingers, okay? This is 2024, okay? You're going to get some folks sitting in your chair with extra large hands. Okay? And, toenails on their fingers. Thumbs, big toes on their thumbs. Okay? And some women have those really big thumbs. There's a condition. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it is a condition where the thumb is extra big.
It's like
Club, yeah, something like
club.
that. Something like that.
club band.
So you will have, because trust me, if I had that issue, I would want to fix it or do something to, to enhance it, okay? Or not enhance it, but fix it, okay? But you will run into those clients, and what do? If you're a skilled nail tech, you might cut this tip. Let me give you an example of one that don't fit, okay? So if I take a nail that's too small. Well, this one was kind of too small. And the reason it's too small is because it's not going to my sidewall on this side. Can y'all see that? Now, I had a nail injury here to this nail, okay? You see the scar here? Mm-hmm. And there's one on this side right here. Here. When I was probably about 7, 8 years old. My mama is an educator, but when I was really young, before she got her master's degree and all that, she was the director of a child care center. So my mom used to have to pick me up after school, and I'd go to her job, and all the kids, we waiting for the kids. Y'all late picking up your kids. My mama had to sit there and wait on y'all to come get your kids, and I'm sitting in there playing hide and go seek with your kids, because I was a kid too. And I'm hiding behind one of those big commercial doors. And they come looking for me, and my hand is in the, around the door frame. And they open the door and crunch. Okay, my fingernail, the reason why it's shaped like this is a perfect example of a matrix injury. Okay, I have no sidewall on this nail. It just kind of is up, waving, saying hello on the side. It's not attached to anything. Okay. And if you notice the way my nail was cut, it went from this see that little divot here, all the way right there across, and it nicked my matrix. I'm lucky I have a fingernail, but this fingernail doesn't grow right. It kind of grows thick instead of out. It will grow out, but it definitely has a little sidewall thing going on there. So that's why I just want to show y'all. This nail is hard to fit tips to, okay, because it's flat and wide because of the injury. So how would I make this? If this is the only one that I got, what can I do to make this fit? Because you don't want to force the tip down, because when you force it down, you're making it wider, and then it wants to pop back up. And if it does that, it's going to cause you to have this white line down the middle of the nail, because it's pushing the nail plate up with it. So what can I do to make a tip a little bit bigger? And I'm talking a little bit. We're not talking about making it huge. All right.
Cut it in the center.
Yes, you can take this and you can either just slit it down the middle a little bit, because that will give you more. Oh, it's going to open up. Okay, you see how it opened up now? I have a little bit more, but you can also take your scissors and just put you a little notch in it like that. Okay, and that will also spread it out, so that it spread it out almost to where it fit here. Okay, at the end of the day, I would rather your tips be too big than too small. Okay, because you can definitely size down better than sizing up. And they do make toe tips that are really, really big. Okay, I have used toe tips on thumbs and middle fingers before. Just saying, it's pretty big, right? All right. Now, how do we know when a tip fits? How do you know that it fits?
When it reaches sidewall.
Sidewall to sidewall, okay? It needs to be sidewall to sidewall. Y'all, they have tips that curve. They got them that hook all the way over. They've got them, the duck nails and all that stuff. But at the attachment point, it needs to be sidewall to sidewall, okay? Now, when you apply your nail adhesive, I'm going to do this really quickly to show you guys how this is done, you're gonna open up your glue. We got my little fake hand here, okay? And these tips, you can just see how that goes in there. Makes it a lot easier to. I got this on TikTok shop. Go in my TikTok shop and you can buy it, so I get a commission on. Okay. I like it. It was only $30, and it's a whole silicone, and the fingers bend, right? And it came with a little stand, a little suction cup stand. Anywho, so the first thing, what do I need to do? First, I'm gonna wash this client's hands, right? Her hands need to be washed, so we don't wash her hands. Wash her, she went and washed her. Then she comes back. What's the next thing I want to do? I want to shape this nail first, because it's a little bit. These little side walls might this free edge might stick out a little bit. Let's just pretend she's a little bit longer, like right about there. Okay. That's a lot of free edge. I want to clip her free edge down some, okay? We're just pretending here. I'm going to clip that free edge down some because she don't need all that sticking out. And then I'm going to shape this nail to her natural nail shape, okay? And her natural nail shape will depend on, the client. Don't mind that this keeps popping up. I should have put one of those little sticky tabs under it, but that doesn't even really matter. Then the next thing I need to do, let's go ahead and push that cuticle back. Because if I buff it first, then I still need to push the cuticle. What's the point? You got to buff it again, okay? So I'm going to push her cuticle back with a little, and I got my tools up here, but you can use an orange wood stick or whatever, cuticle pusher, whatever you have, okay? And we're going to push our client's cuticles back gently. Don't be all up in here with it, okay? Y'all do that, all right? Push those cuticles back. Get off the sidewall and everything. And then we're going to remove the shine, okay? We're going to take our buffer, and this is a 180 grit, okay? And we're just going to lightly remove the shine. And sometimes I do this number where I just kind of push up against the cuticle a little bit just to make sure that it's completely gone, okay? Now, you'll dust that off, and I'm pretty sure I have a nylon brush in here, but if I don't, so we're gonna pretend that I dusted it off because I don't know what I did with it. Hold on, my nylon brush. Since I don't have one, we just pretend I did. And now I'm gonna take a cleanser, which this is just alcohol, and remove all that dust. So now the nail plate is clean, okay? It's still buffed. It's just the alcohol that's making it shiny like that, okay? Now, when you go to state board, again, you've got to use a full well tip. So this is a full well tip, right? Does this fit? No. Definitely not. So let's find one that fits. So when you go to state board, I set you up with a little pack of every single one of these sizes in there, because you're not going to know which finger they asked you to do at state board. It's a blank spot there. They can choose any finger they want. So if they say you're going to apply a nail tip with blending to the middle finger, don't do the ring or the pinky. And trust me, when we do our practices, it's always one person that's out of zone, or they're in their head somewhere else and they're not listening, and then they're sitting there going, what finger did she say? And then they sit there and they cheat and they wait for everybody else to start, which I guess that's not really cheating, just wasting your own time. But make sure you listen. So they're gonna say, I'm gonna say middle finger. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna open up my little bag of tips and I'm gonna check and see which one of these fit. Well, that one didn't fit, so let's try another. I'm gonna take it, rock it back, and what do y'all think? Yeah, this one, let's see if a slightly smaller one fits. Now, look at that. See that? That ain't gonna do. So we're gonna use this one. This one fits perfect from sidewall to sidewall. Now, you're gonna open up your glue. Remember, you wanna make sure you get those air bubbles. You don't want a big blob of glue right here in the tip. Open up your glue. You're gonna have some nail clippers in your kit. It'll come with some bigger clippers so that you can open up your glue. And then we're going to apply the glue to the tip, okay? When you put this in, you're going to squeeze it in, right? And then take your glue here and just kind of, I'm not squeezing anymore. Now I'm just moving to the side walls. You can't always count on the glue to move to the side walls. So put some there, okay? And make sure if you have too much that you have a paper towel under you or something, you can dab it off a little bit, but you don't want to use too much glue, okay? So now that I've applied the glue to the underside of this, in the well, I'm going to go to my position stop, and then I'm going to rock it back. Y'all see the bubbles disappear? Okay, you don't want bubbles under there. Why do we not want bubbles under there? It can cause lifting. What else can happen if it don't lift? You can get water under there. That's how you get greenies, okay? Not to mention, when you're at state board, if you've got a bubble under there, you got to blend this tip. So what's going to happen when you get to the air pocket? It's going to pop, right? But technically it don't pop. But it's going to be a hole there. It's going to be a hole. Now, if you find yourself in that position, I highly recommend that you file it down to the hole and then put some glue in the hole. And then wait for it to dry and then file again, because you're going to have a divot there. And that is not a blended tip. Okay? So, now that that is glued on there, because you guys cannot take any nail glue dryer sprays or anything, you have 20 minutes to do one nail. No acrylic, no nothing. Just glue it on, cut it, shape it, file it, blend it, set down, and wait for the next thing. Okay? So no acrylic at all. So this shouldn't take you 20 minutes. This should take you 3. But somebody's going to take the whole 20 minutes. Just ignore that person. They didn't go here. Okay? So once I've glued the tip on, okay, I want to make sure that it's nice and glued on. It's not going anywhere. Once you've done this to all 10 fingers, it should be nice and, cured and dried. The next thing I'm going to do is cut this tip with my clippers, okay? If you want to be fancy and bring, because somebody's going to do it, they're going to bring some cute, tip clippers and all that stuff, and unnecessary stuff. Go in here and we're going to trim this nail to the length that our client wants. Now, in this case, our client is a state board mannequin. She wants them short and sweet and to the point, because we ain't got time for all that. We also want it to be short and square. It's so much easier. Can we agree that a square nail is easier to do than a stiletto or a coffin or a round, okay? So make your life simple at state board. Cut the nail short and square to the point, okay? So you're going to clip from side to side. It don't have to be perfect, okay? Give yourself some room to file. Now, when you're doing this on a client, you got 10 fingers here. It's not just one. And we want to make them all the same length. How do we do that? But which one is the one that we go by? When you're asking your client, because this is what you do. You ask them, you say, what length would you like, ma'am? Ma'am, what length do you want? And they're like, about that long. What does that even mean? Right? So what I like to do, there are several ways you can use a form. You can use, you've got those clippers and you put your little magnets on there and, but at the end of the day, not every length looks good on every finger. If you got a client that has short, fat, stubby fingers, please don't do short, wide, duck feet on them. Like, that's not going to look good. I mean, unless that's what they want. If you like it, I love it. If it pays my bills, hey, I'm with it. But don't take no pictures of it. That's how my clients always knew that I didn't like their nails. Because I'd be like, all right, girl, I'll see you next week. Oh, you're not going to put it on the Instagram? No. I know like, honey. So, there's several ways to check the length. But it's for me, what I like to do, if I'm in, doing something quick, okay, just for reference. Let me get one of these forms out for y'all, because I know you're probably wondering what I was talking about. Where's the forms, y'all?
They should be.
Nobody has a form?
They're right here.
Oh, damn. I need to put some more out. That's what that is. Okay. Take you a form. Take 2 of them. Let me show y'all how you can do this. And this is how you'll know that your nails are the correct length. Okay? Take a form, any form. Doesn't matter what type of form, as long as it's got numbers on it. What's she talking about? Okay. Take you a form. Put 2 forms together so they're not trying to stick. Cut the back off.
Can you zoom
Yeah,
out?
I'm gonna show you. Cut the back, put them together, cut the back off. And then when your client, you say, hey, what length do you want? And she's gonna say, I want it to go to that first line. Okay? Then you're gonna cut it to that first line. Okay, and you can eyeball it. So you can take scissors too if you want to. Cut it to the first. Give yourself some room to file. Okay, same thing. You'll do the same thing over here. Same thing over here on these 3 fingers. But don't do it on the thumb and the pinky like that. Why? If I make my thumb the same length as the rest of these 3 need to be the same. Okay. If I take my thumb and I make it the same length as those 3, what's going to happen? It's going to be too short. It's going to be way too short and way too wide, okay? What if I do the same thing with the pinky? Same length. It's going to be too long because it's skinny and thin and much smaller, okay? So this is where, yeah, it's the same length. It is, but it don't look like it, okay? So I recommend when you get to the thumb, go up a number. When you get to the pinky, go down a bit. Okay, just a little shorter. And then eyeball it. It's just eyeballing it, really. Your client's going to look at it and say, this one's too long, then just take that. Okay? But if you can't add more to the tip when you get to the thumb if you cut off too much. Okay? So that's one way to do it. And then they have those little magnets that you can put. The thing about that is most people aren't sanitizing those magnets, cleaning those magnets properly, and then you're just using dirty magnets on people, this dirty stuff on people, implements on people. Okay? So, pick your poison again. Do what you want. But when you're measuring your client's nails, where do we measure? Ooh, them cuticles looking crusty. Where do we measure? From the cuticle area to the tip of the nail? Or from the tip of the finger to the tip of the nail?
Tip of the finger.
Tip of the finger to the tip of the nail. Because, again, this nail might not be the same length as this nail. As far as the nail bed is concerned. The nail plate. So you want to measure from here to the length of the nail. Not here to the length of the nail. Because then you're going to end up with all types of lengths. Crazy lengths. Okay? Now, that's one way that'll help you size these. Now, magnets can be used. Just clean them and disinfect them. Absolutely. That's just what I just said. Thank you. Okay. Huh? I just said that, didn't I? I love the DIY Temu instructors on TikTok. All right, here we go. Sorry, I had to say I don't even know who you are. Sorry, that was funny. All right, so now we've glued it on. Now what do? We're gonna shape it. Okay, and on this little flimsy finger, it's a little bit hard to do. Okay, but side wall. Okay, and then tip. Now, when you're doing this on a real human, you're going to want to, check and make sure that your links are the same. Again, you might go in and say, and you're going to be checking for the tips of the finger. What I like to do is take like a file like this and put it on the client's tips of their finger like that to make sure they're lined up when I'm looking at them. Imagine tips being on here. Take your finger and line it up so that they're lined up like that. Okay? So that you know that they're all the same. If you're that picky. When I get clients that are doing all this, I'm like, here you go. Just here. Here you go. And so have them turn their finger around also when you're done to make sure that they are flat on the top. Because the client finger might be crooked. It might go like that, like that, like that. And it don't look, and then you turn it like this and it's like that. Okay? So make sure, because the client's going to look at it like this, so do you. You need to turn their hand around and look at it this way. okay, to make sure that the client's tip of their nail is nice and straight. And you won't be able to get it nice and straight this way because we're seesawing, you know, so it's best to have it flat like this and then have it pointed. I can't really do this with flexible Felicia over here. Got stiff hand Stella, soft hand Sally, and flexible Felicia over here. Okay, now we've shaped this. Now what do we need to do? Blend it, okay? So how do we blend? The best way for me to show this to you is to use a marker. Where's my pink bag with my markers? I'm gonna take a marker here and mark this up, this nail up. So y'all see the ledge, right? It's pretty big. Look like, I mean, you can jump off of that and hurt yourself. Okay? And a lot of nail technicians don't even file this part. They don't even care to do it. And it's very important that you do. And why do you think it's important that you blend the tip? Okay, so because you see that big ledge right there, right? Well, that's one reason. Because if you're applying gel, it's gonna self-level and go, right? Plus, you need to make sure that that tip is etched because slick to slick don't what? Especially with gel. You could have separation of your product. But the most important part is, think about what happens when if you break a coffee mug, right? And it's got a handle on it. And you break the handle off. You're like, oh, I got some of Miss Mary's resin. I'm just going to glue it right back together because, you know, resin and super glue is the same thing, right? So you're going to nail glue it back together. And it's perfect, right? It's nice and fixed. But then you drop it again. Where is it going to break? Right where it broke last time, 9 times out of 10, okay? So that's a weak area of the nail. So we want to make sure that our nails are not made of glue and tip. We want them to be made of acrylic. Your tip is just a foundation, okay? It's just your foundation. So we want to make sure that this nail blends down to the natural nail. Because, you know, back in the day, when I used to, you know, go clubbing and stuff, when we were way too young to go, we would go to the hair supply store, get these full well tips, if we couldn't afford to get our nails done, these full well tips, glue them down, blend them and polish them, cut them, shape them, and go on out without no acrylic or nothing, okay? Because they were strong enough to do that. But we want to blend this nail down, see the ledge? We want that to be gone without destroying the natural nail. How do we do that? All right, so this marker is not the type that, I don't know where my good black one is. But anyway, we don't want to disturb that back there, okay? So what you're going to do is you're gonna file. Be very careful. You can use an e-file to do this, but it's not necessary. I like to hand file my shaping. I mean, you're gonna get a crisp look. So see, I'm still filing. Still filing. Come on, stay down. Without, because I'm holding the file flat. If you hold the file flat, notice the gap. Okay, so we're going to file down till we get to the blue. All right, so keep filing. Keep filing. And you'll get to where you're really good at this and you can see without having, oh, see I hit the blue? That means don't file no more in that spot, okay? Same thing, keep going. Hold your file flat. Be careful not to injure your client or scratch their nail plate up too much, okay? See, we're getting there, almost. Oop, there we go. There we go. And you'll know that you've blended it. Once that it hits the blue and it starts scratching the blue, you can stop, okay? Because check it out. There's no stopping point. So when you go to state board, that's what they're going to check for. They're going to check to make sure, A, your client's nail is shaped. It's shaped, okay? It fits, and that it's blended. So now, what you can do is just take your buffer and look at there. And we didn't damage our client's nail plate, okay? Let me get that little spot right there. There we go. See that? So, that little sidewall is getting on my nerve. Okay. So now, that nail is ready for acrylic surfaces, okay? You now put your Dehydrator primer, lay your acrylic, okay? So that's how you're gonna do this at Stay Bored. Just like that. That is so easy, right? Shouldn't take you no time at all. I don't know why they don't make y'all lay acrylic on top of that tip, but they don't. They want you to sculpt the nail, like nail techs are out here sculpting their lives away. Okay. Moving right along, we're almost done. Now, like I said, you got these tip cutters. You have, all these different ways to cut the nail to the length that you want. Always shape the nail, okay, after you cut it, not the other way around, or blend the nail after you cut it, okay? What I mean is, and I see this all the time, y'all take it and you glue the tip down and then you start blending it. You didn't cut it, shape it, or do anything. And then when you do cut it and shape it, it breaks because you've thinned it down at the contact area already, okay? You want to cut it, just shape it before you blend it, okay? Make sure you follow those steps, okay? Shape prior to blending the well. All right. Now, what are some of the most common nail shapes? And this is one of those that, there's so many nail shapes out there. Some of them I can't even identify. Y'all say it's a square, but I'm like, what? What? All right. Can anybody name some of the most popular nail shapes right off the top of your head? Tapered square, regular square, almond, lipstick, stiletto, round, oval, coffin, broken stiletto, ballerina, and all of these are really just names that y'all just make up, broken stiletto and a coffin are like the same thing, right? I mean, so I've heard doe foot and I've heard lipstick, Now, these are just your most common shapes. What about Russian almonds, Gothic almonds, edge nails, Russian pipe? This is a Russian pipe right here. This is a Russian pipe. Okay, it looks round from the top, but from the side it almost looks square, kind of, and it slopes up. But those nails tend to need to be sculpted. Okay, so you can get into all of those, different shape, Maryland, all these different shapes, y'all. They generally need to be sculpted. But your typical salon shapes are going to be your square. Nobody said the most famous one, squoval, which to me is not a shape. Okay, to me, squoval is not a shape. Squoval is what happens to your nails when you've had them on for 2 weeks or a week and they were square. So, you get those. My clients know better than to ask for that. Because I've been like, nope, they starting off square. And tomorrow, after you scratch your jeans, scratch your ass with your jeans on, they're going to be nice and rounded on the side. Okay. But there's a lot of times clients want squoval because they say square is sharp. So all you got to do to get rid of those sharp edges is run the buffer under there, underneath the free edge, just like this, just to it's already there. Run the buffer like this underneath, real gently, and it will not round, to just make them so they're not so sharp. Because nobody's walking out of here with no squoval nails, not my clients. Okay. Round, almond, stiletto, lipstick, coffin, those are all examples right there, okay? Now, how do we identify the characteristics of a well-structured nail? Because there is a way that nails are supposed to be shaped in order to keep them from breaking. There's several different things. That's one of them. Okay? So let's get into it. Number one, the stress area of a nail. Okay? You must have in the stress area an apex or an arch in the nail. Okay? You must have that in order for the nail to be structurally sound. We're making nails here. So we're kind of, it's like you need a foundation. We're building a house. Okay, you can't have a house that don't blow down if you don't have a good foundation, okay? So these are the things that you need for your foundations. You need to have an apex or an arch. And where is that apex or that arch located? Well, on a really, really short nail, that you don't really have much of a stress area, do you? Where's the stress area of your nail? It's the free edge. Think about it. The stress area of the nail, which all this dust on this table is making my stomach hurt. Okay. So, on a natural nail, a short nail, like on my finger, do you see my apex? Absolutely, you can. It's just very, very short. See how it starts here and it slopes up. Mm-hmm. The highest point of the nail is the apex, okay? So here, my apex starts way back, kind of about right this area. Because my nail is short, it can stay there. But if my nail starts to get really, really long, then my apex may need to be longer as well. And that's when you start getting into, shaping these sculpted nails and stuff, or shaping your nails in general, okay? Flat nails break. Nails that just shoot straight out, they're gonna break on you. You need an apex, okay? Now, when the nail gets longer, let's look at this nail, for example. This is a full coverage nail. That apex, it would have started about right there with my natural nail, right? But because this is a longer nail, in order to keep the structure of this nail and the integrity of this nail, the apex starts here, way out here. Okay? So, how do we determine where the apex should be on a nail as far as the length is concerned? There's a mathematical equation to it. Okay? The length of the nail, or the apex, should start at the beginning of the back third of the nail. What? I didn't know we was in math class. Okay. So the nail, okay, we've got our cuticle area, right? Mm-hmm. And then it goes up, comes out. Say we're doing a long nail here. If I break this nail up into 3 parts, 3 equal parts, boom, boom. We're going to say that's equal, right? My apex for a nail this long, it needs to start at the cuticle and then slope up and then boom, back third, beginning of the back third. Or you could say the end of the back third, however you want to call it. Right here. Apex starts there. Okay? Now, if I got a really, really short nail, my apex may start back here. Okay? But y'all, I don't want y'all to get too hung up on apexes. Because I had one student, she used to ask me every time she did a nail set, how do my apexes look? I'm like, girl, if you don't get out of my face, ask me about another apex. Does it look good to you? Is there one there? You're probably okay with nails this short. All right? Don't worry about it so much till you start getting into these longer nails, because then it changes the look. Now, what is another area of the nail or part of the nail that you must have for structure? For all of y'all complaining that that you can't see, you don't follow instructions. You can click the link in the bio and you can see everything, but y'all want to stay on TikTok and complain instead of read. That's what's wrong with this world. I say as soon as you go into the TikTok, it says, if you would like to see what our students see, click the link in the bio. But they would rather not do that. They'd rather complain on TikTok and get told off. Anyway, or you can get it for free right here. You're getting it for free there too. Don't get me started. What's the next one? What's the next part of the nail you gotta have? It's right there. Sidewalls. If you don't have sidewalls, then your nail is going to break. Anybody ever had a nail where it looked right here? Look, how about this? Right here. You're getting ready to shape it, right? Mm-hmm. And then you start filing. You take the nail and you're filing right here because you're trying to get that little, it's something right. Instead of filing it straight like this, you start filing it under here. And then you get this little notch thing. And they're like a little, yeah. And then what happens? The nail, where does it break? Right there in that weak spot. Okay? So your sidewalls need to be present. Okay? Don't file them away. And this is what happens when we don't blend the tip. Think about it. Okay? If I take this nail right here and I didn't blend it, then I lay acrylic on, so it's sitting up high. Right? Sitting up high like it was before. Remember, we got to file these nails and shape them. We want the sidewalls to be thin or we're going to end up with what I call muffin top nails. You know what I'm talking about, this right here, this fat that hangs over your pants. The same thing happens on, y'all laughing because some of y'all look down and say, damn, I'm going Miss Mary to Pilates next week. Okay? That don't look good on nails just like it don't look good on hips either. Okay? So, if you've got it sitting up high, the tip, then you lay acrylic on top of it. Now we've got nails that are a little wide because we laid the acrylic and we want to slim that down. Well, guess what? You're going to have to file all the acrylic down because you didn't blend the tip nice and thin. You want the tip to be around where it contacts the nail nice and thin because you still got to lay acrylic on top of it. So what good is laying acrylic on top of it that you're going to end up filing all the way because your nail tip is sitting up there just as high as the acrylic should be. Okay? This is why blending the tip is going to give you that nice sleek nail, that shape that you're looking for. Okay? Because think about it, when we do forms, we put the form under the nail. So it's definitely, that's why formed nails, sculpted nails generally tend to look much slimmer, sleeker, and more beautiful because they don't have all that product sitting on top. We got us a body shaper on and a waist trainer called a sculpting form. Okay? So, you got to have sidewalls. 2 of them straight out. Unless you're a duck foot nail person and they go, oh, that's to me, that's just, you're just making them look wider. We got some duck girl lovers in here, don't we? I think you told me you love duck feet. I was like, what? Okay. What is the next thing we need to have? It says nail extension underside, okay? Nail extension underside. So that's going to be flipping the hand over and looking up under there. Why is it important that we have clean nails underneath? You got more product underneath than you'd have on top. That's going to be an issue. And this happens with sculpting a lot, okay? If I take a nail form, and I'm not going to get it because we're going to get into nail forms next week, okay? But if I take a nail form like this, and I put it on a nail, and I just couldn't fit it on there that good. I couldn't get it on that good, and I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to eat. This client don't know anyway. So I'm just going to put it right here like this because that's the best. It won't really fit real good under that client's nail because she got nails that do this. So then when you go to lay the acrylic, what happens? You got more acrylic under the nail than you do on top. So when the client bends their nail or bends it down like this, it's going to snap. It's going to snap because there's not enough acrylic on top of the nail versus on the bottom, okay? So when you turn the nail over, when you sculpt the nail, you're going to have this like real thick piece of acrylic, and you're not going to notice it until the client comes back 2 weeks later because it's going to grow out. And then you're going to have this like ditch from where the acrylic grew out, and stuff gets stuck under there, and the nail gets weak, and you have to add more acrylic to the top. So it's best to do it right the first time, right? Fit the forms on properly. So you'll see that example of that next week. Okay. Now, how thick should the client's nail be? This is very important. Very, very important. The thickness of a nail. If you have all of the things that I just named as your structure, everything's good. You got your apex, you got your sidewalls are intact, it's clean underneath. How thick does that nail need to be?
As thick as a credit card.
My seniors are telling all the answers. You okay? So,
Thick with 3 C's. How about
thick with 3 C's. Thick like me. With a, I didn't realize how big I had got till I put my Pilates outfit on that I never used when I went to Pilates last week. I was like, damn, it's tight. Get on this Pilates machine more than once. So thickness is very important. And I see nails that are so thick, and a lot of clients will say they're too thin. Right? The nails are too thin. Well, that's probably because they've been going to a place that makes them really, really thick, and then anytime they did do them thin, they broke because they were missing all of those aspects of the nail that we need to have a well-structured nail. So my advice to you on the thickness of a nail, it should be as thick as a credit card, and not like a SRP one, or like your debit card, like a platinum American Express, the metal ones. Okay, if y'all ain't never seen one, I'll show y'all later, because every time I do it on live, folks are like, oh my God, somebody's gonna take your credit card information. If you have an American Express, you know that the credit card information is on the back. But anyway, the thickness of that, okay, is about what you can get away with if you have the nail structurally sound. And you're probably like, what? Well, let's look at this. Look at it. This is a press-on nail. How thick is that nail? Because we don't add nothing to it but maybe some polish. It's not thick at all. But because it has, look at that. You see that curve in there? What is that called?
C-curve.
This is called the C curve. Not a D curve. We ain't talking lashes here. C. Okay? Half of a circle. And the reason why it can be that thin is because of the C curve. And I know they make these flat nail tips. Hell, I sell them. There are no C curve tips, and then there's C curve tips. If you want extra long nails that are not going to break for you XXL extendo girlies, you're going to want to use tips that have a C curve in it. Otherwise, you're taking a chance of that nail breaking. Because, think about it. Think about it like a straw, right? A straw is round. And I know a straw is probably a bad example because you can bend it very easily, if you know what I'm talking about. But if you take a straw, it's completely round. Okay? So the chances of this bending, I done drank my Dunkin', y'all. Somebody go get me another. The chances of this bending, because it's rounded, is a lot less than if it was just, completely flat, right? If it was a completely flat straw. Y'all get what I'm saying? Okay? The curve in it is what keeps it from bending. That curve in there. So the same thing, you want that C curve in your nails for it to be structurally sound. Again, there's looks, because somebody's going to say, well, I like my nails flat. That's fine. Everybody has their preferences on the way they want their nails to look. Okay, but if you want well-structured nails that will withstand the test of time and not break every time the client comes in, they need to have these things. Now, this is the one that's going to make everybody mad. Okay, the length. Okay, there is a such thing as nails being too long. Again, this is preference, but when we're talking about structure, there is a such thing, okay? So if you've got a client who has very short nail beds, okay, their nail bed, maybe they bite their nails really, really short. That means that their foundation is very, very small. Imagine building a skyscraper on a foundation that's, 10 by 10. That skyscraper is going to be doing this in the wind, isn't it? I mean, they do that anyway, don't they? If you've ever been in one, you can feel them blowing in the wind. But there is a such thing as too long for the client. Now, again, this is only scientifically and mathematically because y'all going to do what you want to do, and that's why your clients end up with these nails that look, they can't take them off because their fingernails are busted, okay? But how do we mathematically compute this? Client's nails, again, this is structurally. Your client's nails should be no more than 2 times the length of their natural nail. Another math question. I'm going to break it down. You know I'm about to do it. Okay? So, if the client's nail, move Felicia. If the client has a nail, a natural nail, that is this short. That means they bite them nails are bitten. Okay? Then that means that client can only get their nail twice the length of their own natural nail if they don't want the nail to break immediately. Because remember what we said here. Same math equation. Your apex is in the back third. So that means the nail's broken up into 3 sections, right? Well, here, our apex, we don't really have much going on here. So in order, this client will love you for this, okay? You tell them, all right, well, the longest you can get is, let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's all you can do right now. Sorry, stop biting your nails. Go eat something. Okay? Now, there's people that will do it. They will do it. Bring them all the way out here. And what happens now? Where's the apex on this nail? The apex on this nail is past the client's natural nail. So that means anytime they put their fingers on something, grab something, touch something, it's going to be forcing that nail up, and then you end up, the whole nail's gone. I told y'all the story about the lady I tried to fix her nail at nail school last week. Whole nail gone. Because she didn't have no foundation. And I'm over here trying to put something on there and snatched it off. Now, if you have a client, and again, this is the mathematical equation. Your clients are still going, well, that's too short. You can do what you want to do. When they come back and they ain't got no nail because you snatched their nail off, what you going to do then, sis? What's the next move? Huh? They make fingernail prosthetics now that you can just like a cap you can put on. And what you gonna do? So at the end of the day, do what's best for the client and the health of the client's nails. Now, if you've got a client who's got a really long nail bed, and this happens, okay, their natural nail. You have those clients, they got that high hyponychium right here, that skin under there because their nails are so long and sleek and slim and pretty. This client, the longest her nails can be is what? 1, 2, 3. This is your extendo client. Anything longer than that, you are taking a risk. So what do I say you should do? If you are doing extendos, because I know y'all are, which is not good for your client's natural nails. It's not. I mean, everybody has their preference. They like it. Their look is popular right now. Client needs to sign a waiver. I highly recommend that you make your client sign waivers when you are doing nails on people that they're requesting things that you don't think is healthy for their nails. Okay, I personally just don't do it because you ain't gonna sue me. But if they insist and they want extendo nails that are way more than 2/3 the length of their natural nails in length, make them sign a waiver. Just go on chat the GPT and have one written up for you. Okay? that you understand that this is not healthy for your nails, and I'm doing it under duress because I need to pay this bill. Okay, I know y'all got bill. You can't be turning away clients, but that part. Okay, everybody understand those things that need to be there. Very, very important. Okay. Again, there's plenty of nail shapes out there that don't look like this. Flat. Those, I call those salon style nails. And just flat tips, the generic tip. Like, look at this. This don't have a really deep C curve. Look at this. I told y'all I really love these tips. This ain't got no C curve at all. But these are the types of tips that you're cutting down really short. You're not really keeping them really, really long. Again, these are when you have a short nail, an apex, a C curve, and all that stuff, it's not as important as nails that are extra long. Okay, moving right along. Oh, speaking of, look, I did those. Y'all like those? Yeah, those are cool, right? So that is all I have for you today on tips. Now, last week you guys practiced using ratio. Doing ratio, okay? This week, you guys are going to do something a little bit different. And I hope I have my papers. We're going to be turning those beads or those bowls into nails, okay? So I've got a different sheet for you guys today than we had last week. Here they are. And I told y'all the reason why I give them to you separately, because y'all jump ahead of me. So what we're going to do today, a little bit different. Okay? So remember last week we practiced with the beads, and your beads were large, medium, small beads, right? Laying them down a million times. Well, today, no more beads, ladies. We're going to be turning our beads into nails. And we've got different shapes and different lengths here, okay, for you guys to practice. But if you notice, there's large beads, medium beads, small beads, depending on what length you're doing and blah, blah, blah. But how you lay this and how you pat it and is very different than the way we did last week, okay? So, I'm going to demonstrate. Everybody should have a monomer, right? A dampened dish. If you don't, go get with me after I do the demonstration if you weren't here last week. Okay. So I've got my, let me zoom out some. Got my little setup here. Got my dampened dish. All right. Got one for my powder. Let me put some powder in here for y'all. Got my brush, got my liquid. Okay, y'all can't see. Let me move my head. Let me move. Okay. Just getting a little bit, don't need too much. All right, so we did the beads last week. One bead at a time, large, medium, small. So this week what we're going to do is we're going to take those beads and turn them into nails. And the only difference is, remember last week I wanted you to drop it, press the liquid into it, release, and that's it. Well, this time we're going to be shaping these nails. So we've got to do some patting and pressing and moving of this acrylic, okay? Now, when you do this, now I'm going to turn mine a little bit just like I tell y'all, turn y'all's, okay? When you're doing a client's nails, they're not like always right straight in front of you. They might have a little angle to it depending on what hand you use. So, I'm going in, going to drain off my brush just like I showed y'all last week. And I got this reversed. Sorry, I like it this way. Because I'm pushing up against this and I want to have a little weight there to keep it from sliding. Going in and I'm going to drain off my brush. Okay, and it's a little cool in here. I do have the heat on, and I'm going to pat, pat, pat till I get a bead, okay? So there's my bead. Now I'm going to drop this down on that bead right here. I'm going to release, clean my brush, same as before. But I'm going to let that product spread a little bit before I start pressing into it. So now I'm gonna hold my brush flat to the table and bring in the sidewalls and bring in the tip, okay? Just like that. Now what I see you guys do is you press and then you're pressing. Y'all learned what happened last week when you do that. What happened to those that had to have to soak their brush? Stop pushing all that acrylic in there. All right, so we're gonna push that to the side. I just messed it up, so I'm gonna push it to the side. Clean off my brush. Now that's bead 1. Make sure you don't move to bead 2 until this one has somewhat, started to do what? Just a little bit, so that you're not adding more product and now you're chasing acrylic all over the place, okay? Now my next bead, this is the difference from what we did last week, okay? I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna pick me up a bead here. Pat, pat, pat. This one's a little bit smaller, okay? This time I'm gonna lay it down, press and pull, okay? And then clean my brush. And what does that do? That's going to lay that bead behind the first one that has a little bit higher, and now it's gonna make it so that it's level and blends. See how I can take this and pull it, and now I don't have a big lump. I can press it down, bring it to the side, smooth it out. Everything blend. In other words, it blended. You want everything to blend together. You don't want to be building a mountain, gradually building a mountain. And this is what happens also when you start from the cuticle and work your way to the front. You build a mountain, okay? So start with the bead at the front, pat it, make your brush nice and flat to the table. If y'all can't see it, but I'm literally at a flat angle here, okay? Don't dig into your acrylic. Now the next bead, even smaller. Now this one's kind of hard because you cannot, and I don't want to see y'all doing this. When you drop the bead and you made it too big or too wet and it just slides to the cuticle and floods the sidewalls, and then you're going and you're doing this. What are you doing? You're putting product all over the client's skin. And when you do that, what can happen? Allergic reactions, contact dermatitis, and all kinds of things could happen. It's always the folks that's like, oh, that ain't never happened to me. Okay, until it does. All right. So you want to pick up a small bead, and then we want to be very careful about where we place it. Notice that the bead is right here and not way back here, because we want to give that bead an opportunity to move a little bit, but not flood our cuticles, okay? Now, in a perfect world, we pick up 3 beads, right? It don't always happen that way. So this is where your practice comes in, okay? So I'm resetting this powder. Remember, reset your powder, because I want to pick up a nice small bead that's not too runny, not too wet, that's not moving everywhere, okay? So I'm going to pick up a bead, a smaller bead, okay? Give it a chance to polymerize. If you lay it down right now, she's going to spread wide open, okay? So we're going to lay it right behind, press it, press it, press it, press it, release. Now take your brush at a 45-degree angle, and we're doing this kind of like we're tucking it around the cuticle angle. We're not holding it flat just yet. And then bring it forward. Okay? There's several different ways to do this. Everybody has their own way of doing it. This is school, this is foundations, this is the beginning. You will learn this way, and then you will find your own way, okay? But notice how, because I picked up just the right size bead, just the right ratio, that it didn't spread everywhere, and I'm not having to go around and clean and do all this right here, and okay? And you'll notice when you hold this to the side, there's no lumps, no humps, no bumps. We don't like lumpy nails. You want to lay your acrylic, anybody know? Like you ain't got a file. Lay your acrylic like you ran out, okay? And all you got is a buffer, okay? So that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna demonstrate one more time, okay? Let's try another shape. Now, just like last week, don't go from square to here to here to here just because you want to try everything today. Stick with the easy ones, the square. Stick to all of those. And remember, 5 nails equals a set for me, okay? You do a whole row of these, that's a set, that's 2 sets, okay, on your acrylic with tips and grades, okay? I'm gonna demonstrate again. Let me zoom in a bit so y'all can see. Let's try it. Let's do the coffee, okay? I'm gonna pick up. I want y'all to be able to see. I don't want to be too close. There we go. Go in. Pick up a larger bead. Okay. Let it polymerize just a little bit. Lay it down. Okay. In this case, because this nail is a little longer, I'm going to press, 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 and bring it in. Excuse me. Okay. Now, if this were on a tip, you would have to press and be kind of bringing in the sides as you go because you don't want it to fall off onto the, your table. But with a sculpted nail, you're going to have that form there, aren't you? To help you kind of pull up and you can move it and pat it out and do all that stuff. But again, we'll be doing that next week. Okay? Bring your product in, make sure it's set. Go in, pick up another bead. This time, well, this is a longer nail, so it's really, we might end up doing 4 beads here. But I'm gonna press it, press and pull, okay? So that it gives me that blended nail. The acrylic is blended, excuse me. All right? And this is really, really close. Like, I would have it way out here, but I'm trying to make sure I'm in the screen so y'all can see, okay? Next bead. Again, in a perfect world, it would be 3, but I picked up a little bit too small of a bead, all right? So now we're gonna let that cure, polymerize a little bit. Go in, press, and blend. Because I'm gonna have to do a 4th bead here. I don't want y'all worrying about apexes. What I want y'all worrying about is laying these beads and having them shaped properly and not lumpy. Okay? We're not worrying about shaping it and getting it nice and thick and curved and sitting. That's not today. Okay? All right. So, and then go in. This is a really tight. This is when you gotta learn your ratio. Very important. I'm gonna pick up a little teeny weeny one, like that. Okay, and go right in that little space right there, and use your brush at a 45-degree angle to tuck in the cuticle area and then bring it forward. Okay, this is what you're doing today. As many times as you possibly can. All right, different than last week slightly. Okay. Everybody got that? Perfect. Okay. Try not to lock up your brushes. If you do, we can fix it. It's okay. Saturday, we was locking up brushes Saturday too. It's okay. All right. So that's what I got for you ladies today. And we're going to get up off of here. This live anyway. Not the live, but the YouTube. All right. Come on up.